Hello, my name is Dan Bullock, and today we are talking about something that affects almost every charity we speak to. Why charity websites are much harder than they look, and why so many of them are not as effective or visible as they should be. This is the Marketing Powwow.
The QBD podcast.
The Marketing Powwow.
And then you have these plugins, you literally have these bolt-ons, these things that get added to the website over time. And you're looking at it, you're thinking, you don't need hardly any of this. Typically, they will go with a free one because they don't have the money to spend. They see it as a cost. It can start to be part of your service offering and part of your charitable objectives. So you add that knowledge that they don't know what they don't know. And they all have value, but they're only as good as the data that you have in them.
Yeah. Welcome to another episode of the QBD podcast, The Marketing Powwow. Today, I'm joined by Rich Brown, Head of Lead Generation at QBD, who's worked across the charity sector with organisations like Cancer Research UK, Acorns and JustGiving, and even founded his own charity. So let's get into the Marketing Powwow.
The QBD podcast.
The Marketing Powwow.
So, hi Rich, nice to see you and have you on the podcast. So this morning we're going to look at charities, and can you just give us a bit of an overview of how your involvement in charities has changed over the years and how you first got involved?
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me. It's great to come on and chat about these things. So within the charity sector, my first job in the sector was with Cancer Research UK, where I was the events manager for Race for Life. And so I was there for a few years. And then having left Cancer Research UK, I actually founded a charity in memory of my sister called the Joanna Brown Trust. And so I'd often say to people I'd worked for the biggest charity in the country and then the smallest charity in the country. So I'd had a lot of experience at both ends of the scales. And then also after I'd set the trust up, I did remain in the charity sector where I was marketing manager at Acorns Children's Hospice. I worked at Kemp Hospice, and I also did some work with JustGiving and was part of the Institute of Fundraising. So I've got a lot of experience in the sector.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And how did you find the difference between the big corporate with the small and very small sort of charities, I think?
Yeah, so it is an interesting word. They are, they're big. These charities like Cancer Research UK do amazing work, but they are huge. They are huge organisations that have a lot of people. They have a lot to manage with. And then you get to, when you're kind of trying to do it yourself, and the term I used to use is like one man and his laptop is trying to, set up this thing. What I found is that you find that you are having to do it all yourself, obviously, but you can lean on these digital platforms a lot. So when we founded the Trust in Memory of Joe in 2008, social media was a thing, but it was quite a new thing at the time. Mm. And I remember thinking, this is great because it doesn't matter how much money or how little money or no money I've got to spend on marketing. My Twitter account could only be as good as Cancer Research UK's Twitter account or like a big business's Twitter account, because we had the same tool at our disposal. We had 140 characters, and that is about it, And so I really felt that technology kind of leveled the playing field. And so I was a huge advocate of how social media could help small charities get their message across. And that actually led me into the role I do nowadays, which is helping businesses primarily get their messages across through digital marketing. But I felt that, as a small charity, you're always looking for what's that little thing that can help you, because you don't have the budgets, you don't have the resources, you don't have the people. And there are great tools out there, but then at the same time, you can get almost distracted by them, confused by them, and then you end up spending a lot of time using them and you're not really doing it very well.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know that you yourself have a lot of experience in the charity sector. What's your background in it?
Yeah, very much. I mean, since I started working, and some of the early websites I worked on were charity websites. They were very small organisations and charities that were set up, and they just needed some exposure. So I got quite a lot of early exposure to just building a very small website for charities trying to make that first step and get online and get that visibility. But then later on, me and my wife went over to South Africa, and we were involved with a number of projects, but one of them that really affected us was a disabled school. And we came back home thinking we'd really love to just make some small effort to that one project that we worked on. So we sort of set up a charity linking with that project in South Africa. As a result of that, managed to set a branding up and a website and get that exposure, and then essentially raised money for that project, which was part of a much bigger charity and organisation over in South Africa. But we had nothing. We had very little budget, no budget, and we used everything we had with the tools around us, which was with our contacts and our friends and family, a few business cards, letterheads, I think, and a brochure with what we did, and a website. But as a result of that, we were able to grow the exposure of that project and raise quite a lot of money over the years for that charity. So it was really nice to merge the two, like helping out a charity with a skill that we had in the digital space, really.
Yeah, and obviously you had your like professional knowledge of that, and I think when I set up the Joanna Brown Trust, because I'd worked at Cancer Research UK, that's one of the biggest charities, I kind of knew how the charity sector kind of worked. Like I kind of knew what I was doing when I started doing it, and there was quite a powerful thing there. And I think for me, obviously something that we almost share with what we've done was that you could lean on that technology you mentioned about like business cards and letterheads and things, because I know the feeling I had when we first set the trust up was, I just wanted it to look professional. Like I wanted it to look bigger than it was, basically, because when I'm going out asking people for raffle prizes, or I'm going asking people to maybe donate or just do something, I was like, I need this to look a bit more than a bloke in his laptop sort of thing. And so I was getting like letterheaded paper. I was similar to you, I was networking at the time, so it was useful to kind of lean on those contacts that you had. But I thought, actually, I need a website, which, I mean, it'll be a story for another podcast, but that's how obviously I first met you and Paul and came to QBD, because QBD gave the Joanna Brown Trust its first website. But even back then I saw the importance of that website to give it that almost like professional look. That must have been something that you had similar. Yeah,
very much. I mean, we came back and we didn't know we were going to do this when we were out there, and we only had about 8 to 10 pictures of the project. It would be great to go, okay, great, this is a great idea. Let's go back and get some more photos. We can't just hop over to South Africa and do that. So we created a brand and an identity and a colour scheme, and we wrapped the initial project around these sort of 9, 10 photos we had and built the story from that. And then we pieced it together bit by bit. But it's those foundations and building blocks that were really important at the start that gave it those trust points. It gave it that foundation. It gave it those areas that we could lean on, that people went, oh, okay, it is a thing.
Yeah, it looks legit.
Yeah, it's not just an idea and a trip and a volunteering that we were involved with. It's a thing.
Yeah.
And then it slowly becomes more of a thing as you get more slicker, and we got trustees involved, we got bank accounts, we got things. But the website and the branding and the identity was one of the first few things we put together, because that was a skill I had, but an importance that I felt was, needed to be there from the start, really. So, Rich, between us, we've got quite a considerable amount of experience and skill in this area. What would you say is fundamentally different about a website and a website for a charity?
I think the thing that I've seen with it is who it needs to be there for, in terms of it almost has like multiple audiences and multiple people that will access the site. I remember being at Acorns Children's Hospice when I was their marketing manager, and we were in the process of getting a new website, and I remember being in the meeting room with the web agency that they engage with, and the person from the website said, the person from the agency said, what's the role of this website? What is the point of this website? Because they obviously had done a lot of websites similar to us nowadays, where it's traditionally for businesses, and they've got a goal, which is to sell the product or service to their audience. Yeah. Who's your target audience? Defined. What's your thing you do? Defined. And they said, what is the most important thing for this website to do? And I had the director of fundraising to the left of me saying, well, the most important thing about this website is to be a fundraising tool for people to find us, donate, all that sort of stuff to help with the fundraising side of the charity. And then I had the director of care to the other side of me saying, no, it's not. The most important thing of this website is to be an end user, to be for our service users, to be a place where families and parents, and people can go to find information, and about what we do, and help them engage with the charity and our kind of service offering. And there wasn't a right or wrong; they were both as equally as important as each other. And for me, that was the big challenge that every charity faces. That the website is trying to be at least two things to two different audiences. I think as well, actually, when you think about it, you've got a few others in there, haven't you? Because then you've got volunteers will be accessing the site, and they need a different type of audience. And then you might get grants, or you might have a almost like a compliance thing that you need to, for governance, that people need to go to have that trust. So all of a sudden you've got 3, 4, maybe even 5 different audiences that all need to have an experience that reassures them that they've come to the right place, that helps them go through that. And that's a very difficult thing to do when you've got a one website. It's a thing that I think that most people kind of overlook really with it.
And I think picking up on that compliance, it's more than that, because in lots of service industries, compliance is almost a bit of red tape, stopping you doing things or making restrictions. But in a charity website, it's much more than that, isn't it? Because it can offer that support that you are confident that they have this tick, they've gone through that red tape to get that donation system in place, and therefore I trust it, and therefore I'm happy donating.
Yeah.
But also that they've gone through all the compliance to get their charity in the right position. And I think
the trust thing is huge, isn't it? It's so important. I remember, again, when the stuff that I'd... my time when I've been involved with JustGiving on their advisory panel, there are other online fundraising platforms out there. Even 10, 15 years ago when I was first started engaging with them, there were others, not probably as many as there are now, but there were lots of others. But because they were kind of the market leader, because they were the brand that everyone had heard of and trusted, that was the one you kind of had to use. You could go and use a cheaper, free online payment, take a payment, online sponsorship form tool. But if the end user didn't really know where you were sending them, or if it wasn't it wasn't embedded in the website, you do lose that trust factor. And obviously people nowadays are so wary about adding their information to any site. And so that was a huge thing as well about that trust factor. But then also kind of the trust in the charity of like where the money's going, and showing that point of it, that a certain percentage of the money we raise goes to a cause, and that element to it needs to be there. Like the charity website needs to do that. And I think that a lot of the time what I've seen is that charities miss that opportunity for the website to be that 24-hour a day person that's giving that information out, where people can go and find information about the charity. Yes, they can donate, they can volunteer, but they can get that reassurance of, okay, I've heard of this charity. And a bit like what we were saying previously with our individual experiences on this, is that you wanted to make it look like you were legit, that you could support this, and it was it was a viable thing for you to get behind. And the website has to do so many of those things, and to navigate the path of how you do that most effectively without it being a totally bloated maze of a website that no one can figure out where to go can be difficult.
Yeah. And I guess one of the things to throw on top of that is if you've got a charity that's for, say, visually impaired, then you've got the tools and the accessibility and the things to bear in mind as well, and how that can affect the whole of the things we've just talked about.
Yes, and we've been working on a project recently for that, and again, it's keeping in mind those different service users, those end users, that there will be different people from all different walks of life, really, that may want to or should be accessing your website for different reasons. You will get people that will just want to find out when your fun run is, and they just want to sign up to an event, and so it's got to be a really easy, quick in and out, make a donation. But then there's other people that want to spend a lot of time on the website reading your resources, reading that information, where they can actually benefit it because it's themselves or someone that they care for need that support, and that website can be that source of information and be that hub. And it's a fine balance. And as you posed with the question, I don't think it's a challenge that most business websites face, because the role of a business website is to sell the business to a very defined audience. And that's straightforward, really. For a charity, it's got to spin so many more plates. And I suppose with the experience that you've got with your charities, that over time that then charity grows, and you might start doing different things and to different service users and have different means for people to engage, and it does grow over time. And again, it's very difficult to manage that. Typically with charities, as I said in what I did with the John Brown Trust, but then even with some of the smaller charities that we've supported, they don't have in-house marketing. They don't have in-house web developer guy that can sit there and do all this stuff. They are trying to do it themselves, and it's volunteers, and these websites can get passed from pillar to post as the charity grows. And that's again where it can be so hard for it to kind of keep on track of like what it was set up to do.
So within QBD, we do quite a lot of audits for websites and audits for websites for charities. What would you say are the biggest challenges that you see either from the charities or from the websites that you audit within this sector?
Yeah, I would say with the charity websites, when you go in to start with, they often find it hard to edit edit their websites themselves. And it might be just because it's a fairly old website. As you'll know, the website moves on quite quickly, and the websites, even us as a team are building today, are better than the websites we were building even three months ago, because technology moves on, and a lot of these websites are a lot easier to manage nowadays than probably what a lot of charities are used to. If your website is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, it might be a clunky system that you think, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like you have to have some decent level of knowledge to be able to go in and edit these things. So I think that was one of the things. But then also it was when you can see that the website, as I mentioned earlier, has been passed from pillar to post. So it's gone from one volunteer to another volunteer to maybe someone that you had doing your marketing for a bit, and then they've moved on, and then someone else does it. And you just get plugins. Most charity websites that we look at are built on WordPress. And so you'll have somebody, and I can kind of see the scenario happening over and over again. It's like, okay, we now have an event we're setting up, and therefore we need to have an events calendar, or we need to have an image gallery, or we need to have a place where people can sign up to do our event. And they don't have that knowledge of the web world. So they just Google how to add an event form, or how to add a calendar, or how to add an image gallery to a WordPress website. And it's, well, what you need for that is a plugin. And there's two options. You can have a paid plugin, which will do the job very well, or you can have this free one from somewhere you've never heard of before. And typically they will go with the free one because they don't have the money to spend. They see it as a cost. And then you have these plugins. You literally have these bolt-ons, these things that get added to the website over time. And before you know it, 2-3 years down the line, you've got a website that's got 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, we've reviewed websites that have had 50 odd plugins with, lots of different things. And you're looking at it, you're thinking, you don't need hardly any of this, and but because it's one person's little project, and then they move on, or it gets passed to somebody else, and that handover of knowledge, and that kind of, as we said, having the charity's objectives at heart all the time to build it up, it becomes this bit of a maze and a mess. And one I remember quite vividly, one of the website charities the charity that we reviewed with their website, it's because they were getting hacked. Their website was getting hacked a lot, and when we looked at it, they had 60, 70 plugins, and they were all free, and they weren't updated, which is the big no-no with any plugins on websites. And it's essentially like leaving 70 back doors open in your house, isn't it? And so you're thinking, well, there's your problem, and like, how have you got to 70? And it's because it just. And the new person comes along, and then they also want to add an event or an image gallery, and they don't know that thing's already been added. So they just go and add another one. And so for me, that's the biggest kind of issue. There's a security thing, like I said, because it is like leaving a back door unlocked. But then over time, the website just becomes so bloated, it becomes so hard to navigate. And before we press record today, we were talking about the site maps and how you look at like the menu of a site, and you can just see again that everything just gets put on the website, and then they don't know where to put it, and there's this kind of fear and pressure that everything needs to be on the homepage. So where are we going to put this new page about signing up for the London Marathon? I know, let's just stick it under About Us. But then you look under About Us, and there's like sign up for the 2024, 25, 26, 27 marathon, and and then you have the events page, and it just becomes almost like a garden that's just hasn't been very well kept.
Definitely.
And of course, you must have looked as well at like the websites as you've seen. What particular things have you seen on charity websites where you think, oh, that's a common trend?
Yeah. So the big one that with donation forms and donation systems and people jumping between different systems, a lot of plugins are left active or turned off or not logged in the background. And that was one of the big common things I saw. So these gaping holes, these back doors that you're leaving it, but in with payment gateways. So that was something where people don't know even what that company or that plugin means anymore. They don't have any recollection because it was a small company that maybe solved a problem when they Google it at that point. And for us as a vulnerability, that's quite a big one because it's linking an old plugin, but with payments as well. So that was a big worry I had when I see a lot of them. But the second one I probably would put is admin access. I think a lot of web companies are probably aware that they have volunteers that maybe aren't as well trained or advanced in sort of editing websites. So they give them a very restricted login that doesn't allow them that full access to do what they want. So when we audit websites, quite often we'll get access to their login to have a look at what's involved and what's currently in place. And we'll straight away see that it's very, very locked down. We can't see and edit the things we want to. And therefore, the charity hasn't been able to see and edit.
Yeah.
And that's probably a result of why they've had to put things in certain places, because, I can only edit that area, so I've just chucked it in that place. Not because they want to put it in the right place that it should go, because they haven't actually got the control to do it.
Yeah, and I suppose that you add that knowledge that they don't know what they don't know, so they don't know that they could have more knowledge. They just think it's an impossible beast to kind of tame. And the other thing it's interesting about the access thing. It's a thing that I've seen a bit, not just within charities actually recently, is that then we get access to the site and you look at the users and you think, okay, there's 8 users in here, that's quite a lot, and they say, well, these 4 people. Oh, they haven't worked for us for like 3 or 4 years, or I don't even know who one of them is. And just like, so they've still got access to, maybe limited access, but they've got access. And I think that's another thing that's worth doing, almost as a bit of homework to give the viewers and listeners of this today, is that go away and just check who has access to the website. And while you're there, just check it on your social media channels as well, because typically there's still somebody, and it's like, oh, yeah, they're the one that have the access, and they walked out the door 18 months ago and therefore they took the keys with them.
Yeah.
And we can't now get into where we need to get to.
And I think that all spawns so much more from that volunteer role where people are helping, supporting a charity. They've got a period of time and then their life changes. Maybe they haven't got that time that's now available. Something has come up in their life that now says they can't volunteer in that way.
Yeah.
They pull out, which is all valid and acceptable, but then it's left the charity with a hole. Somebody bridges it and then somebody fills it in a different position.
Yeah.
So.
And we, as I said, you've seen it as well, but we get it. You very rarely have a dedicated kind of digital marketing web that would be there for a long time within the charity. Even if you do employ a marketing person, the charity sector does move quite quickly. So people do move around a lot. But then for those charities that can't afford that, they do look and lean on volunteers. And it's great that these volunteers will put their hand up and say, yeah, I like poking around in websites. I'll give it a go for a bit. And they do. And they can sometimes do quite a good job. But they then said move on, or they are able to do it anymore. And it just gets passed from pillar to post. And before you know it, it's very hard to keep under control if you don't have that, almost like that gatekeeper. And I think it's something that we do very well at QBD, is that we are almost like the stakeholder of the website. And there's been charities that we've worked with where I'll sit with them on a monthly basis and they'll say, okay, yeah, we've got this idea that we want to add this to the website. I was like, why? Why are we? No, I don't think you should do that. That's not my loyalty is to the website and my loyalty is to your end users. No, we're not going to do that. There is a better way to do that. You don't need that plugin, or you don't need all that extra effort and work and stress that you're about to put yourselves under. You can just do this thing. Yeah. And for me, I think the thing that's been brilliant that you've done, particularly with one of the websites that we've done, was around with that donation form. And because there's so many times, but charities want that ability to donate. They want that ability for people to donate. But then, there are ways in which the technology has moved on so much nowadays that then it can capture data and it can even work on things like the gift aid, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. So moving into what we do differently and why we deal with things differently for charity websites, what would you say are the building blocks that we would start a project or a charity website with?
I think the important thing is just to listen first, but listen to all different kind of aspects of the charity and all the collateral that they have, the different marketing messages they're trying to put out there. Understand what do they want their website to achieve, and as I said at the start of the show, what's the role of the website? I do sometimes, for my own amusement, ask that relatively annoying, seemingly simple question, because then it gets quite a long answer for the different elements. And so just to listen to the different things that the charity is about, who the charity supports, and those sorts of things, and just to listen to start with, but then have that outsider view, that slightly holistic helicopter view, where we can say, okay, this is our understanding of you as a charity, but from the outside looking in, and these are the things that you want to achieve, or these are the things that we've identified, because we've got not just an understanding of the websites, which help because we can say, well, there's a good tool for that. Did you know that there's a tool for this? Did you know there's a digital platform that you can engage with that will help with this? So we've got that professional website digital marketing experience that we can bring to it. But because we have got a lot of experience in the sector ourselves, we can then maybe identify some of those other bits to say, well, this would help you, and we know that this would help you. And I know with the one of the things that you'd set up with around the donation forms and then capturing the gift day, because we know as people who have been involved in charities that claiming gift aid is a really important thing. Yeah. And so I think that we're able to bring these other bits to it. And something that I've like to do a lot when we work with charities is not just be the web guy. So we're not just the web guy that you tell us what to do and we do it. You know, we can hear about how the charity is growing. We can hear about that you're now offering new services to new people within the community. You are putting on different events, or the challenges that you're facing about having to manually file gift aid claims and all these sorts of things. And we can have that knowledge and our understanding of the digital world, and then bring a solution that you haven't even thought of to say, you did know you can do this, or have you thought about this? And yeah, I think it's really important that you do have someone within the charity, either internally or externally, like ourselves, that their loyalty is to the website, and that you can have that element to it. And something that we've also been able to do is use the tools at our disposal to find out, you know, what are the keywords, what are your target audiences, the people that you want to provide care for, what are the type of things that they're Googling? Because then your website can be the answer to those questions. And I think that's where, when we worked with a couple of charities recently, their whole view of the website totally flips. Because I think, if I'm being kind of a little bit harsh with it, that a lot of charities treat the website as an online brochure. It's a thing that they would have had printed, and they just have a digital version of it that's online that they can direct people to, and it sees that top line information. But when we kind of expose that bit of, well, there's actually hundreds of people a month in your area Googling things about these services that you offer, and the dots aren't being joined because the robots, as we refer to them, Google and AI, don't really know that you do those things, because you don't talk about them enough on your website. So when someone's out there in the world who's never heard of your charity before, but is Googling how to care for someone with Parkinson's or something like that, the dots aren't being joined. And if your website can start to be that source of information, that hub, then it can be part of the service that you offer, and not just be an annoying cost because you have to have a website or an online brochure or a place that people just go to sign up for events or sign up to donate. It can start to be part of your service offering and part of your charitable objectives. And when we've helped a few charities see that and kind of open their eyes to that element to it, they do look at their website under a new light, because you could argue then, as much of the money that you invest in your members of staff and those core services that you offer and those drop-in clinics, whatever it might be, there's an argument the website can back all of that up. And it isn't just an expense. It isn't just an annoying bit of money that you have to spend on. It can be something that can really help the charity with its awareness and with its exposure, and just get more people to find out who you are, but because that's what they need, not just because they've heard of you as a charity.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of businesses, isn't it, where you're trying to get the keywords of the service. Yeah, you know, you've got people at a successful business that wants to give to a charity, but they want to give to a charity in a certain keyword. So it might be, I want to give to a children's charity.
An animal
charity.
Particularly local. People want to support local charities, and so a lot of the time, again, some of these charities that we see, they're not very good at that. That they just got to really, as I said, you have to take the Ron Seal approach to this. It's like you've really got to does what it says on the tin. So if you just look through your website, and I think again that's where it can become quite an internal thing, where you've got volunteers or people that have got a little bit of kind of marketing interest, or might do a bit of marketing, but when you get the external person who maybe doesn't know huge amounts about your charity, looking at the website, you can say, it doesn't actually say where you are. Where it doesn't actually say what you do, because you can't see the wood for the trees sometimes, and you're so in it day to day. And I get it, because I've been there and you've been there as well. When you're doing the charity thing, it is your absolute world, and everything you do is about that. And surely everybody knows about it because you know everything about it. And actually, when you look at it, you think, oh yeah, it doesn't actually say what we do or where we are. And then so those dots can't get joined. So when those companies are Googling, we want to support a children's charity in the local area. Does it really say that? Do the robots, do Google and AI really know those things about you? And that's where it comes back to the trust element that you mentioned earlier, that then that website becomes a place where they see you for the first time. Your website can help you raise the awareness and the profile of your charity. More people then who've never engaged you before look at your website. And then it's so important that you have that trust element and almost compliance element to the website, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's really important with the trust and compliance of the website and how that has a reflection on the website and the website project, isn't it?
It is, and I think the challenge is, as we mentioned, that you have got so many plates, you've got so many people coming from so many different angles. So to have that website, to have that place that is secure to start with, but then is a place that people can go and. Yeah, it has got that trust factor from an external point of view. So I am somebody visiting your website for the first time, and it loads well. It doesn't have any issues from that sense, and I get that confidence to put my details in or whatever it might be. But on the back end of it, the data capture and all those elements of from that compliance point of view, that it's got to be that is the bedrock of it really. And particularly nowadays, as we mentioned about the robots with Google and AI, they will see your website. They do know how good, how compliant, how well built, how secure your website is. And if they're not that convinced, then there's no way that a human's ever going to be that convinced about it. So it's such an important thing to get. And as we mentioned, we do speak to all kind of different angles and all different roles within the charity to make sure that we have a pretty broad understanding of all those kind of plates that you will be spinning, all those challenges you're going to be facing. So the solution that you get is something that is safe and secure, really, because it does have knock-on effects. And I know that some of the things that you've seen with these bits of how that can help charities with the compliance.
Yeah, one really good example I can think of is where there was lots of people involved. I think it was up to 8-9 people dealing with a donation. So the first person gets the email, looks at what it's for, puts it in a system, does something else, passes it to somebody else, and then something else happens here, then somebody else does something else over there. And what we did first of all was just talk to them all and listen to what they need to do, what they would like to do, and what the dream would be. And then we went away as almost a consultant to then produce a solution. And this one example I can think of was great. It was the donation system. It was their donation form, and they managed to hook in everything. They got monthly donations, one-off donations. They got the finance getting what they needed, the marketing getting the emails of the people so they could get what they wanted, and the customer got a really nice touch points with a really nice interface. The payment was taken instantly. They filled in a gift aid if they ticked that box, and then at the end of it got a really nice email confirmation. And if it was a monthly one, it's got all of that follow on as well. So it really ticked all the boxes, but it became possible because we listened. Yeah. And because we listened and we hooked in that technology that is there and available, but because we understood what they actually needed and what they'd like.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I think we're able to really bring, as I mentioned, that you've got the technical knowledge to know that you can do all these things actually, but we've got the sector knowledge to know the difference it would make. Yeah. And almost we could see the whole in their charity before they could, and see an opportunity to improve. And I think the other thing to kind of state to the people listening and watching to this is that that then does integrate with other systems. So many more charities nowadays have CRMs. They're big on their donor databases, and obviously at Cancer Research UK they had a huge one. At Acorns we had a very big database, but even the smaller charities I work with now, because again it's a sign of technology's moved on. You all have some sort of database. There's lots of different charity databases out there, and they all have value, but they're only as good as the data that you have in them. Yeah. And to have systems where people are inquiring about events, they are making donations, whatever it might be, that information can be passed from one place, digital place, to the other without having to go through 5, 6, 7 pair of hands. And then you've got almost like user error or in terms of like adding the data and maybe getting a slight name wrong or a slight date wrong and things. And when I was at Acorns, that data that we were able to capture in our database was so important, because when you come to, ask for donations at Christmas, we were sending out direct mail campaigns or something or other, the data that we had was really good because we know who had donated, but when was the last time they donated and how much did they donate? So if you donated recently, we're not really going to badger you again because you don't want to put the pressure on them.
Yeah.
So we could see, when you typically donated, so you had that bit of data, so you could be considerate with your asks, but also we could see what their average amount was that they donated, because that was tracked. It was a donation they made online. It was captured, through the forms and the systems that you built. That then we can you can look at things. So when you're sending out direct mail campaigns or even email campaigns, the amount I'm asking you to give can be personalised.
Yeah.
Because I know you usually give 50 quid because you're on our database and it's all been synced up. So I'm going to ask you for 50 quid. I only give a tenner. Yeah. But you're not going to ask me for 50 quid. And so you could, you can tailor it. And I think that's the thing that, we've really enjoyed trying to help charities see is this is at your disposal. Like, this is not some, thousands and thousands of pounds worth of magic systems that you don't have access to. As I mentioned at the start with the charity that we set up for Joe, with, the things that you've done with things in South Africa, you can do these things off your own back. And the technology is there. The technology is definitely there to support you. You might just need a little bit of hand-holding in how you navigate that sometimes, but it's there and it can make jobs a lot easier, and it doesn't have to be an expense. In fact, it will save you money in the long term, because then the members of staff that you've got can actually do the things they're meant to be doing and not just be an admin to forms and things. So a question I've got for you actually, Dan, is, so as our technical director at QBD, you've seen a lot of development with websites and the technology it's built on. Is there one particular thing that you've seen? It's like, oh, that's such a good development in the tools that you can have within your website that's made a big difference to the charities that we've helped?
Yeah, definitely. I think you'd probably agree that everyone wants everything on the homepage.
They sure do.
So that everything they want to put at the top of the homepage, and they want all those links accessible. But they forget that not all users come through the front door. They don't see that homepage. But one of the things that they do see is your navigation. And they see your navigation, and more in particular, they see blowout menus. So that, from a technology point of view, is something that I'd really say is an absolute gem within website builds, especially for charities, because you could have very short, sharp headings, and as you hover over them, they can blow out them big stories. So they can have sub-menus, they can have sub-menus underneath that, and you can have headings at the top of those sub-menus. So very quickly, the user can just glide along left or right, if they're on a desktop, those menus. And if they're on a mobile, they can just click on it and see the menu. Just click on it again, see the menu. And I think those real hooks transform the way the website works, because you don't need to go through the front door to see all those different journeys get in. You can see it on any page, and if they come from some of those SEO journeys or those other event pages, they can then say, oh, I'll just backtrack to who they are, who the trustees are, what they do, how they work, where they're based. And I think their blowout menus is a real thing that a lot of charities don't consider or put as much weight on as they could. And yes, you are limited on the top level, but you're not limited underneath. And we've seen some really complex, really big sites that have a good story to tell, and they do it through blowout menus. If I was to give you the challenge of giving our listeners, if they run charities, a little bit of homework to go away and look at, what would be the top 3 things that you would ask them to go and look at to check the status of their Willed or their charity?
Yeah, good question. I think the first thing I would do is, I would challenge them to log into their website, because I don't think all of them would be able to even know how to log in to their website. And that might be just because they have engaged with an agency to build the website and they manage it all, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you do really want access to your own website sometimes. So are you able to log in? When was the last time you logged in? Or when was the last time you looked at the website yourself? And I'm probably going to end up giving more than 3 here, but I'll cheat. And this is part of that same answer, which is go and give your website to someone who doesn't necessarily know who you are and what you do and see if they can navigate it. Maybe someone who's younger than you, or maybe someone who's older, isn't as kind of tech savvy, and then you're not over their shoulder, backseat driving, going, no, it's really easy to find about the services that we offer. Just click about us, services, recent services, local services, and it's there. So don't drive them. Just give them the website on a laptop or an iPad or a phone and just see what they do. I think that would be the first thing about just accessing the site. Once then you're able to get into the site, I would, as we mentioned, I would look at the plugins that you've got, but also the access in terms of, so who does have access to this website? Is it all people that still should have access to the website? If it is a WordPress site, which 9 times out of 10, it is going to be, have you got big flashing red lights and notification alarms going off saying your plugins aren't updated and update your plugins? If you've got that, that's something to check. Either check back in with your current provider or always reach out to us and we can have a look at those things for you. So I would check that bit, because that like I said, that really is like the back door. That's leaving your back door unlocked with that, some of that access stuff. And then the final thing I would do is look at the website from the end user's point of view, in terms of, so if I didn't know who you were as a charity, so it's called a branded keyword, isn't it? So if I'm not going to brand keyword you, so I'm not just going to Google your charity name, I am just going to Google, how can I have, my child has X condition, or someone that I care for, or someone in my family has this, what support out there, or how can I get support for this person, or how can I find out more about this condition, or how can I care for this person at home? And just Google that and see where you come up, because you're missing out on a huge opportunity to reach more people who clearly need your services. They clearly need the support that your charity gives them. They just don't know who you are and where you are. And if you can start to look at the website from that point of view, I think that then addresses the challenge that we see a lot of charities say they have, is it's an awareness thing. If more people knew about us, we would get more donations, we would get more volunteers, we would be able to care for more people. We just got to spread the word. We just want more people to know about who we are. Well, the website can really do that. The website can be your 24-hour a day bandwagon, drum beating a member of your team. But if it's not really aligned, then I would say that is probably the third thing, of just looking at how do people find your website and how it can help raise that awareness more for you.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Rich, for your time today. It's been really helpful diving into this charity sector and the work that we can help and support in. So how can people get involved with QBD, or talking to us, or having a conversation about the charities that they are running?
Yeah, we're always happy to help, always happy to share our knowledge and experience. People can get in touch with us through the website, qbd.co.uk, or they can reach out to me personally. You'll often find me at events as well. So QBD, we are the co-sponsors of the Hereford and Worcester Chamber of Commerce charity forums. They run once a quarter, so you'll often find me at those sorts of events. So if you see me out and about, come and say hi. Ask me a random question about your website, put me on the spot, or if you want to book some time in, we're always happy to come in and do a review. They could be face-to-face, where we can sit with your team and give you a little bit of training, or it can be a simple Teams call or simple phone call. If you've just got a question about your current website, your current provider, and you just want to sense check it with an impartial third person, then we're always happy to help.
That's great. Thanks very much. So if any of this sounds familiar in your organisation or your charity, it's usually worth stepping back and reviewing whether your website is doing the job that it was originally set out to do. That's exactly the kind of conversation that we would love to have with you, and we have every day at QBD. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with others who might enjoy our content on digital marketing. And I look forward to joining you again on the QBD podcast, the Marketing Powwow.
The QBD podcast.
Marketing Powwow.